One of my favorite things about recent Magic the Gathering sets has been showcase cards. Cards that represent the themes of the set are given unique frames and art that make them really stick out. Throne of Eldraine had Art Nouveu-style Adventures, Theros. Beyond Death rendered its gods as Constellations, and Ikoria had its biggest creatures appear in a comic book art style. While not particularly rare, showcases have been a fantastic addition to the game that made opening booster packs a better experience. Strixhaven, School of Mages is changing things up slightly, by replacing the usual showcase cards with an interesting new compilation of cards called the Mystical Archive. What is the Mystical Archive? How do I get it? The Mystical Archive is Strixhaven, School of Mages' own take on the showcase cards that have defined the last year or so of Magic. Unlike previous sets, which featured their own cards in an alternate art style, Mystical Archive features 63 instants and sorceries from the entirety of Magic's history, outside of the Strixhaven set itself. The flavor of this is that Strixhaven's school contains knowledge of every spell ever cast, forming the Mystical Archive we pull in our booster packs. An interesting twist on this is that the Mystical Archive has two forms, one with collage-like art, and a rarer Japanese edition with its own design by Japanese artists. Every single booster pack will contain at least one Mystical Archive card. In set and draft boosters, the archive card you find will always be the global version, unless you're buying a Japanese pack, in which case you'll receive the Japanese art instead. Collector's boosters, however, will contain a minimum of 3, with at least one of those always being one of those rarer Japanese style, regardless of which language the rest of the pack is in. All the Mystical Archive cards are available in normal and foil, and, for collector's boosters, in the etched foil style we last saw in Commander Legends. Most of them. The Mystical Archive is a bit of a grab bag of cards, with many of them being staples for a variety of formats. Stuff like Approach of the Second Sun, Teferi's Protection, Swords to Plowshares, Counterspell, Opt, Time Warp, Dark Ritual, Demonic Tutor, Tainted Pact, Chaos Warp, Grapeshot, Lightning Bolt, Cultivate, Growth Spiral and Krosan Grip all appear here, meaning players of almost everything from Standard to Commander will have something to find. On the whole, the selection for the Mystical Archive is fantastic. There are a few odd choices, though, a Divine Gambit, which was widely mocked on its reveal in Kaldheim, and Snakeskin Veil, which, while not bad, is hardly iconic. The good absolutely outweighs the bad, but who'd want to pull a Divine Gambit? For collectors, the Mystical Archive has had a few controversial cards which would be neat bits of game history to own.